On the face of it, as with many of Trump's statements, everyone goes completely nuts. They all think it's completely insane, and it follows a familiar pattern. And then you find out that what he really means turns out to be something rather more diluted and palatable, because he's a trader at heart. What is your reaction to this, though? It's so dramatic. It stunned the world. But is there merit or method to the apparent madness?
Well, it certainly shocked me and surprised me. I've been in this area for years and years and years. This is the first bold, new, out-of-the-box thinking about Gaza, and it shouldn't be rejected out of hand. It's reminiscent of Churchill and Roosevelt's view at the end of the Second World War to transfer millions of Sudeten Germans out of their land they had lived in for hundreds of years in Czechoslovakia and move them back to Germany. Or the thinking of Nehru and others when England gave up India and Pakistan, transfers of populations against the wishes of the people. But it produced an enduring peace in Central Europe, the transfer of the Sudeten Germans, and it produced an enduring peace, not perfect peace in either cases, and with high costs and high prices. Or consider the decision of Russia to take over Königsberg, an old German city, and to remove all the German residents of Königsberg and to repopulate the city, rename it Kaliningrad, repopulate it with Russians, and annex it to the Soviet Union. There's precedent for this. I think it's an idea that's worth thinking about, and its variations. There are so many possible variations. For example, you can do it piece by piece. You can clear out an area of Gaza, remove the population, clean it up, get rid of all the tunnels, then repopulate it with Gazans who would agree that they are not going to engage in terrorism, they're not going to join Hamas. Look, the alternatives that all the critics have been presenting are not viable. It's just doing the same thing over and over again. That's Albert Einstein's definition of insanity. We need new thinking. We need fresh thinking. I'm happy that President Trump came up with this idea. Now let's think about it. Now let's deconstruct it. Now let's go step by step. Let's see if we can accept parts of it, accept other parts of it. Let's see whether or not we can do something different in Gaza rather than return it to the status quo. Already the heads of Hamas said they're going to do October 7th again and again and again. And remember, too, people say it's against international law to move populations. Well, was it against the international law for Churchill to do it, or Roosevelt to do it? Are the same people complaining when the Hamas charter calls for the transfer of populations out of Israel and Jews being eliminated from the river to the sea? We have to have bold new thinking. We shouldn't use cliches like ethnic cleansing and transfer of population. We should think hard about what the realistic options are. None of them are cost-free. All of them will involve suffering. The question is, what's more important, place or peace?
Okay.
What's more important, geography or trying to bring about a resolution to an age-old problem?
Okay, so I hear you. Here's what I would say to you, though. You say it's not about ethnic cleansing or any of these things, but if it was the other way around, Alan, and be honest, if the big idea from the President of the United States was actually, we know how to resolve this, we're going to move everyone in Israel somewhere else, right? Just hypothetically, we're going to move the millions of Israelis, they're going to move, and the Palestinians will get to, have that land, or they'll share it, that land, or whatever that they're moving from. You would lead the call of this is ethnic cleansing. You would say this is unbelievable, shocking, appalling, and should never be contemplated. And I think if you're honest, you would admit that. So I want you to put yourself in well, you cannot answer the question yourself, but I assume you would say that. But if you're a Palestinian, you don't see this as the great rosy future. You see this as you being kicked out of your land, and it confirms the very fears you've been expressing about members of the cabinet like Smotrich and Ben-Gvirwho and so on, who have been talking in this way for quite some time, that they just wanted to get rid of the Palestinians.
Look, this wasn't an idea that Smotrich or Ben-Gvir or even Netanyahu came up with. It was an idea that the current administration came up with. Remember, too, that all the movements of Palestinians resulted from Palestinians attacking Israel in 1948. They produced the Nakba. Palestinians would have been allowed to stay in Israel, hundreds of thousands of them, if they hadn't attacked Israel. And so, no, Israel is an established state. It didn't start the October 7th war. When you start a war, the way Germany started with Czechoslovakia, your civilians pay a price. And if the price is can result in real peace, if the people of Gaza can be returned, and I don't want to see the Palestinians of Gaza removed forever. I want to see them returned to a stable community with beautiful homes, with no tunnels, with no rockets, with demilitarization. That would be a first step to a two-state solution. Remember, I'm a strong supporter of the two-state solution.
But that's not what Donald Trump said, though, is it? But Alan, just to jump in there, if that's what Donald Trump had said, then fine. But actually what Donald Trump, when he was asked directly about what would happen with Palestinians, he said, well, some of them could come back. But his implication was very clear that most of them would not, that most of them would literally move to Jordan and Egypt, both of whom their leaders have said, we're not doing this. And the general reaction across the Arab world is one of absolutely not happening in a million years. So I just think I get the boldness, I get the vision, I get if you're an Israeli, this makes perfect sense and it's great. But if you're a Palestinian, you're like, hang on, so we're getting kicked out, and most of us forever, from what they see as their homeland. And again, I just ask you, if it was the other way around, how would you feel?
Well, first, it wouldn't be the other way around, because Israel has lived in peace. It has never attacked its enemies. It has always been the recipient of attacks. It's only the Palestinians who say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free of Jews. They're the ones who want ethnic cleansing. Israel is responding to it by saying, wait a minute, let's not do any ethnic cleansing. Let's clear areas. This would be my idea, and it's an idea I would propose to President Trump if he asked me, and he has asked me from time to time about my ideas. Clear certain areas, say the south, the Rafah area, clear it, move all the Palestinians out, give them tremendous compensation packages, hundreds of thousands of dollars, give them beautiful homes in Jordan and Syria and Lebanon and Egypt. Let them decide. And if they decide to stay, well, that would be fine. If they decide to come back, then they can come back if they can clear vetting. If they can demonstrate that they're not Hamas terrorists, if they can demonstrate that they do not want to take up arms, that they are not in favor of ethnic cleansing of Jews, let them come back region by region to an area that has no tunnels, that tunnels can't be built, create a situation with underground wires and everything to prevent the building of tunnels. Let's rebuild Gaza. It literally can be Singapore in the Mediterranean. Remember, Israel left Gaza in 2005. They left it completely until Hamas took over. And they could have built a beautiful seaport. I have been in Gaza. I've eaten in Khan Yunis. I've eaten in Gaza City. It could be magnificent. And I think Trump, maybe naively, believes that that could happen again. But if it could happen piece by piece with a right to return, but a right to return if you're not a terrorist from Hamas, and if you're prepared to lay down arms and live in peace with Israel, 10 years from now, we could finally have a solution that would then enable Israel to move toward a two-state solution with the West Bank, relationships with Saudi Arabia. It's the beginning. Let's not just reject it by using terms like ethnic cleansing, because those terms usually have been used in Sudetenland, and Sudetenland was a success.
Yeah, but the reason, the official definition of ethnic cleansing is the forced removal or killing of a population, ethnic group, or religious group against their will. And it's pretty clear from the immediate reaction from Palestinians that this would be against their will. Therefore, the forced removal of a population is, by the definition, ethnic cleansing. I mean, it's not like people are exaggerating. That's exactly what it would be if it's against their wishes.
No, that's not true. International law is based on precedent. And I don't think anybody has accused Churchill and Roosevelt of ethnic cleansing when they moved involuntarily millions of ethnic Germans who were causing a problem. They were the beginning of the Second World War, and the problem has been solved. International law is flexible. Peace is more important than geography. So let's not get caught up in technical definitions that are anachronistic and that have never been applied. India, Pakistan, we had millions of people displaced against their will. In Königsberg, every single German was replaced. Was there objection to that? No, that was Churchill's accepted it. Know that Roosevelt accepted it. These were accepted by international law of the United States. Let's do what's best for the Palestinians. Let's do what's best for the Israelis. Let's do what's best with peace. Let's not just reject the idea by putting a label on it. It is not in violation of the precedents of international law. It's been done in the past with great success. And the best criteria for something under law is, did it work? And it worked in Sudetenland, it worked in Pakistan, and it is still working in Königsberg.
Alan Dershowitz, fascinating. Thank you very much indeed. I appreciate it.